I was raised believing that stable jobs were when you were an employee and the risky jobs are when you go out on your own. But being involved in that layoff made me rethink that.
Yeah.
I never felt such a lack of control
Yeah.
when I got laid off. And I thought, I'll never fire myself. So that really drove me to choose something that somebody else wasn't controlling and also how much I was going to make.
Well, you've got quite the career, lots to talk about, but let's go back to the beginning and start with where your career began.
After grad school, went into the pharmaceutical industry. I did pharmaceutical marketing research for a variety of different big pharma companies that reside in that tri-state area,
Hmm.
and did that for 10 years. I had a marketing concentration with my MBA and I loved the marketing aspect of that work, but I wasn't passionate about the products. The last job I was at, I was 31 and they had a corporate layoff because the biotech company that I was at was a one product company and the product did not get FDA approval.
Oh,
And so they didn't need a commercial division because there was nothing to market.
right.
So they laid us off and I had never been part of a restructuring. I also got divorced and I was a single mom with a 1 and 2 year old. When you have life events like that, you start questioning, I think, a lot of things. And I just started questioning, where do I really want to be headed with my career and find joy in what I truly love to do. So I moved back home to Florida, got my real estate license. And I knew I'd like it because I had always loved real estate. I've always loved looking at floor plans. I like walking through communities. I really loved it, which was fantastic because I'd given myself a 2 year time frame. If it
Mhm.
didn't work out in 2 years, I was going back into corporate. So it was just a blessing that I loved it. And then 4 years after I got my license, my real estate license, I got my broker license and I started building a real estate brokerage here in Gainesville, Florida, North Central Florida. I do get bored easily. And so once I had that established, I said, okay, what else can I do? My belief in terms of growing was how can I serve the folks I'm already serving versus serving more folks? Because to me, the highest cost is the initial cost of a customer to acquire one. And so I said, okay, if they're already in our network and ecosystem, how can we better serve them? And so I started a title company because in our state, a title state, and sellers pick title. So I thought, okay, well, we already have sellers. Now they can pick their title company. Why not do one-stop shopping in our, within our brokerage? So we
Mhm.
opened up title. On the buy side, most buyers need a loan. And so I opened up a mortgage company and got my LO license and started originating loans. And then a couple of years later, I opened up a property management company because a lot of our buyers were investors and wanted to not only buy multiple homes, but wanted somebody to property manage those homes because they were absentee owners.
Happens a lot in Florida.
Exactly. It happens a
Yeah.
lot in Florida and the markets, it's a very variable market. And so when the sales market is down, usually, but not always, the rental market is up. So a
Mhm.
lot of times sellers will get frustrated that they're not getting the price they want when we go to list the house. So then we can convert them to a person who wants to rent their home, and then we rent the house for them until the market rebounds, and then we sell the home for the price they want. So it's just always been this, what else can we do to help our current client base? One of the last things we decided to open was a real estate school because one, our agents need continuing education. They
Mhm.
also need to get licensed, like prospective people need to get licensed. And what better place to get licensed than with, literally in our building. So we get to work with you for a week. After the end of that week, we know if you're going to be a good fit for us or not. So
Mhm.
it became a recruiting tool for us. Those are the kind of ancillary businesses I have. And then probably the most passionate one is the nonprofit we opened, which again is a symbiotic relationship. We've said to ourselves, well, how can we serve customers who can never use our service, who will never be able to
Mhm.
afford to use our services? And so we partnered with Habitat for Humanity, and now we build houses for cost burden families. We live in the highest cost burden county in the state of Florida. And so we help families get into homes. And it's truly Habitat's philosophy. It's a hand up, not a handout, which I
Mhm.
love. So that's probably what I'm most passionate about. The trajectory of the family changes. All the data suggests health outcomes go up, educational outcomes go up. I mean, so many things are impacted by the stability of having a home. So
Mm.
that's me in a nutshell.
What's the name of the nonprofit?
It's Pepine Gives.
Oh, that sounds amazing. And it's right, like you said, you're probably your favorite part of everything that you're doing. And
Yeah.
just to see that. And it's making you fully engrossed in your community,
Hmm.
no matter who you're serving.
Correct.
Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah.
Well, let's take it back because I assume that maybe one of your choices to go into real estate was the flexibility of it. Because if you had two little
Yeah.
ones, and we're trying to raise them
Yeah.
while figuring out how to bring money into your family, especially as a single mom at the time.
Yeah.
Was that really what drove you?
So a couple of things drove me. That absolutely, because my criteria at the time, with all the turmoil, my kids were only 1 and 2, so I was blessed in that way. But we moved from the only home they were in.
Mhm.
I wanted to create a very stable environment for them, and so I didn't want anyone taking care of them but me. And so to do that, I had to work from home, and this was 20 some years ago, and
Yeah.
working from home was not common, but as a real estate agent it was common. So that probably drove me the most, was I could work from home and not have to put them somewhere during the day. I was raised believing that stable jobs were when you were an employee, and the risky jobs are when you go out on your own. But being involved in that layoff made me rethink that.
Yeah.
I never felt such a lack of control when I got laid off. And I thought, I'll never fire myself. So that really drove me to choose something that somebody else wasn't controlling, and also how much I was going to make. Because that always bothered me, that I never knew what my bonus was going to be. Somebody else was deciding it. It didn't matter how hard I worked. I always got this set salary. That whole model just didn't align with the way I work. I like my pay based on outcomes. That's not how the pharmaceutical model was. I was very cognizant of the fact that I didn't see any woman over the age of 65 in the pharmaceutical industry at the time. I don't see myself ever retiring. So I didn't want to be in a career where I felt like I was going to be forced out. And in real estate, we have 85-year-old agents doing really well in our market. And I had seen that growing up. I knew of some fairly elderly women still doing great in real estate. So those are the three reasons why I went in that direction.
And I'm such a proponent for being a business owner. And that's what I do, is help people get out of the 9 to 5 to start a business for that reason that you mentioned, for the fact that you can truly control how much you make, your flexibility, and your stability to a point. Because
Mhm.
especially what we're seeing right now with the world we're in, there are so many layoffs and there's so
Mhm.
much job uncertainty that the only true certainty is what you can control yourself. And I
Right.
think you learned that a couple
Yeah.
decades before the current economy, but it
Yeah.
really is true. And it makes you hustle a little harder to say, I'm going to make this work because it has to. It has
Right.
to work for me and my family.
Right.
And then you did it in your drive to keep going. And now let me
Mhm.
add another business and another layer of this. In total, you own now 4 businesses. Is that right? Plus your
Mm.
nonprofit?
The brokerage title, property management. Yes,
You're
correct.
counting. Betsy,
Yeah.
you're counting. That's
Yes.
you've got
Yes.
so many. Your hand in so many things. How
Yeah.
incredible is that?
I love it. I mean, I love it. I'm now at a point where I have hired people that run the day to day, which I love. And
Yeah.
so now I can really be a true visionary, and I have an operations person that takes care of, oversees all of them. And
Mhm.
then like brokers and senior people in the companies. That was a big piece to unload. It was hard to kind of be involved in the day to day and everything. But once I got that situated, that's really when I feel like my life changed,
Mm.
in the most recent years. Yeah.
When you first started out and you were a solo realtor, when you started expanding and bringing people onto your team, did that excite you? Because I think that's always the exciting part, is for an entrepreneur to start bringing people on and hiring people and saying, wow, now I can be that visionary. I can work on building the business and not in the business. And I think that's
Yeah.
when everything changes.
Yes, I agree. For me, it wasn't, I probably am not the norm. When I started my own brokerage, I had no plan. I just knew I didn't like to work for somebody else. And
Yeah.
so I started my own brokerage and thinking I was just going to be this solopreneur. And
Mhm.
then for the first maybe 2 years, agents in the community would ask, "Hey, can I hang my license with you?" And I was like, "Sure, I don't offer anything, but you you know, you have because in Florida you have to hang your license under a broker."
Okay.
So, after about 2 years, I look around and I've got 7 or 8 people working literally in my garage. And it was just getting to be, I'm like, okay, I got to do something. And so I had the wherewithal to get a coach. And he said, Betsy, you got to go big or go home. And I said, well, I'm already home. Let's go big, And so then it was great because I had him who had done this for lots of people before. And so he helped me create a plan to grow. And then, yes, it was very exciting.
Like you said, you can be the visionary, you can add this on, add that on, start your nonprofit, do all of the things. And I want to talk about you being an author as well. So
Mhm.
tell me about your book.
So the book came out in September. It's called Breaking Boxes, Dismantling the Metaphorical Boxes That Bind Us. And it has nothing to do with real estate. So most people who know me as anything real estate, right? And
Yeah.
they assume that the book was about real estate. It's not about real estate. The book came out in September. It's called Breaking Boxes, Dismantling the Metaphorical Boxes That Bind Us. It's a thematic memoir. If you look at my resume, it looks like, oh, I checked off all the boxes. I'm fairly successful. I assumed that meant I would be happy.
Mm.
And I was finding that I wasn't happy. So, through a variety of different modalities, meditation, yoga, therapy, bioenergetic work, EMDR, I mean, a whole host of things, I uncovered, and still it's a process, but uncovered that the source of my unhappiness had been these periods of time in my life and situations in my life where I felt very confined by the expectations, opinions, beliefs of my family of origin, my industry, my gender, my religion, my friends and peers, just all these external forces having beliefs about who I should be, what I should be, what I should be doing, weighing down on me. So it's how I freed myself from that. That's what the book is about.
No, but it's so inspiring. And it's about what we're talking about here today, just about your evolution and your career journey and building this business and building this life that now I hope you can look around, be proud, and feel joyed and fulfilled and
Right.
happy.
Yes, I
And
do.
I have a story that I always talk about, wrote about in my book about checking all the boxes in life.
Oh,
And I love that idea of saying, okay, because you and I think are very alike in that sense where I can't just do the same thing. I'm always looking for that next project as well. And so it's like, okay, great, I did that. Let's check it. What's next? What's that
hmm
next challenge?
hmm
But when it's that you feel confined to that box and or
hmm
someone puts you in a certain box,
hmm
that's when you've got to break out and
hmm
find your way and find your
hmm
peace. And I think a lot of my listeners and a lot of people in general can relate to having it look great on paper, but not feeling
hmm
like you're living your true purpose.
And I struggled for about a year knowing I was unhappy, but not even being able to admit it to anybody because
Yeah.
like I felt like I didn't have the right. You see so many people really struggling. So like, how can I even begin to express any discontentment in my own life? And that was a huge hurdle for me to overcome in and of itself.
Was writing the book cathartic then? Just really getting your thoughts and feelings out onto paper in that way?
Yeah, very much so. Very much
Mhm.
so. And then when I started sharing the stories with others, it was really nice and they wanted help getting out of their boxes. And that's why I wrote the book because so many people were like, "Well, how do I do it?" And I thought, "Well, gosh, you wrote a book, you know how it's a challenge."
Yes.
But I just thought if I could help one person, if one person's beliefs about themselves or they see something in a different way, they recognize a box that they didn't even realize they were in. Maybe they recognize that they're putting other people in boxes that may not
Mhm.
be conducive to that other person's well-being, then it will have been worth the effort.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to be able to feel stronger too. Like I put this out there, I'm helping others, and you can feel that peace,
Hmm.
that creative part of
Yes.
you, and just feel like, okay, I've
Yeah.
checked it another box and I'm out
Yeah.
of it, and here we go.
Yeah.
I want to touch upon, I was reading your bio, and I love that you've got Barbara Corcoran, who I adore, as a mentor of yours.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what is a piece of advice maybe that she gave you along your journey that really stuck with you?
I think the biggest thing with Barbara for me is her grit.
Mm,
I mean, she is just totally self-made. She doesn't take no. Oh, not today, and how she reinvented herself. So she lost her business with her first divorce, her divorce.
Hmm.
Then she was a single mom, rebuilt it again, then sold it when she was 60, and then had to reinvent herself because she was really known to be only in real estate. So she pitched herself for Shark Tank, and that really catapulted her into being going from a somebody who's a expert in real estate in New York City to a national businesswoman,
Yeah.
and they tried to take it away. They gave it to her, and then they said, no, we changed our mind. And then she wrote this beautiful letter to the producer and convinced him to give her a shot and talk them into taking two women. They were only going to have one woman shark. Just her stories on how she just keeps going is amazing. And now she's 75 or 76 and still very relevant. You don't see a lot of, sadly, women in business relevant at that age.
Mm-mm. You're right, absolutely. And she is just killing it on social media. I've read
Mhm.
her book. Yeah, I follow her very closely. And again, I think it's that Jersey connection, right? You just,
Yeah.
Jersey, New York connection, and you just feel like, God, she is not going anywhere. Like
Yeah.
she is like you, she's never going to retire. She has this wonderful family and loves what she does. It's inspiring. It
Yeah.
really, really is. So
Yeah.
to have her in your corner is an amazing gift, I'm sure.
And she was so supportive of my book, which was so touching to
Oh,
me because, I'm nobody to her, but she was very interested in supporting my book, and I was just so touched by that.
it shows a lot about who she is and how
Yeah.
she cares for those around her. And
Yeah.
with your kids, they were so little when you left. They
Mhm.
don't remember you working in the pharmaceutical industry. How about now that they're older, I'm sure, and adults? What do they think about everything you've built and how you've turned your life around?
They didn't see me turn my life around because by the time they were old enough, that was my life.
True, yes.
It was such a blessing that I got divorced because they saw me only as a very independent woman that because they're both girls. So I feel like I modeled some things that I may not have would have modeled as strongly if I had been in a marriage.
Mm,
And they're very independent, self-sufficient, contributing members of society, which I'm so proud of. And they're happy, that was my biggest goal, is that
yeah.
they are truly happy doing what they're doing. I think they would say that they are proud of their mom. I don't know, but I think so.
All right, it's time for our 5 fast cues of the week. Here we go. Name one thing that these different chapters in your life have taught you.
Stay true to yourself. For me, that's a big task, like always staying present in my body, being very aware of what my body is telling me, not what my mind is telling me, because your body is your first sign. The body knows before your mind. And just, I have tended to overstay my welcome in like the marriage and in some business situations, ignoring my body signs
Mm,
because my head got too involved. And so for me, I constantly try to remind myself to check in with how is my body feeling.
great advice. Would you recommend taking a leap into a big life change to your best friend?
It would just so depend on the circumstances. I don't have a lot of fear in that category, but it just depends on their life. It would just depend.
Right. You don't want to put your
Right.
ambitions onto someone
Correct.
else.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, what is one piece of advice that you would give to someone who's about to start their second act?
Seek out mentors. Absolutely. There are people that are ahead of you. And I like to have two types of mentors, ones that are just a couple steps ahead of me, and ones like Barbara who are way ahead of me.
Mhm.
And they're out there. People want to help others. As long as you express that you want help, there are people out there that have done what you want to do. Reach out and learn from them. We do not have to be reinventing the wheel on anything in life. And so
Mm-mm.
I would absolutely seek out mentors, get a coach. I wish I'd gotten a coach earlier in my career. Well worth it. Invest in yourself.
Love that. Well, what does the next act look like for you, Betsy?
I'm trying to decide that now. The course is coming out. It's a companion to the book. I would like to do more work with the nonprofit. I was asked the other day if you could do anything you wanted right now. My first thought was pet rescue. Like I'm so passionate
Oh,
about pets and pet rescue. And why I don't do it, I'm not sure. So I really don't know what my next act is. I actually think it will be, I'm very interested in the model of collaboration and collaborating with others and then making my competition my customer. So I do feel like in my future, there's going to be a product or service that I will collaborate with another entity or person, and we will market it to what my current competition is.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
That sounds really interesting, and I can see you really conquering that. And you have a way of bringing different areas of your life or your business kind of together, like you
Hmm.
did with all of your businesses. So I can see that. That's going to
Hmm.
be a great collaboration.
Yeah.
Well, where can my listeners connect with you and follow you?
Sure. So I have a website, which is just my name, betsypapine.com. And then I'm on all the social handles with my name, which is at Betsy Papine.
Easy.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll link to everything in the show notes. And
Okay.
thank you, Betsy, for your time and for sharing your second act story with us. But you've got so many acts and more to come. And it's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.